So having called the meeting to order, I'm going to ask everyone to join us in a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I'd like to ask everyone to join us in a moment of silence to reflect on the bravery and the sacrifices of all those who put their lives on the line in service to our country. Thank you. Now I'd like to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is public comment. And I'm happy to open things up. We have, yes, please, Mr. Bergeron.
Thank you.
Feel free to approach the bench. And
not the first time I've heard that, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. And I'm just going to ask you to state your name and residence for the record.
Wayne Bergeron, 9 Meadow Lane, Dennis, Massachusetts. I appreciate the opportunity to address an agenda item that you'll be discussing before too long. And it has to do, of course, with Executive Order 650, which the state put out, basically restricting the use of ICE on state-owned property. So now the question becomes, discussion towards, I'm sure, potential restriction of ICE on county property, county-owned property. So why is this needed to begin with? Is probably a great place to start. Right? The 4th and 15th Amendments, the 5th and 15th Amendments guarantee a right to due process to everybody that's within this country, regardless of immigration status. That's been upheld 3 separate times by the Supreme Court in terms of that. However, due process, as it is described, which is a chance to appear in front of a court, to plead your case, to have representation, habeas corpus, has been ignored. We have approximately 17,000 immigrants on Cape Cod. All right. Most of them are Brazilian, Haitian, Jamaican, primarily in the Mid-Cape area. And for those of us who work with them, there are very few days that they don't experience a tremendous amount of anxiety and fear that they're going to be separated from families. They're going to be put in a place that is so far away from where they were taken that they are not accessible to families. They're not accessible to attorneys. Needless to say, this has created a tremendous amount of fear within the community. No longer is a warrant needed to go ahead and just to take a person, be it judicial or administrative. Most everybody taken is a person of color. We're not going to get stopped and asked to identify ourselves and explain ourselves. If you're a person of color, that's very much apt to happen. Between the racial profiling and the lack of the ability to have a fair and just hearing in the due process aspect, we've crossed a bridge right now that's difficult. The town of Falmouth has been addressing this issue in terms of not using Falmouth town property. Okay. Because we know what the state has done. We're looking at various avenues. Nobody has a difficulty with ICE doing its job legally. And that's the key term here, legally. We were told from the start they're going to take the worst of the worst. Well, apparently a lot of these worst of the worst are 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds, young and not finding a family member there. We have school children in Dennis Yarmouth Regional School District who are afraid to go to school because their parents might not be there when they come home. This is all pertinent to this discussion because ICE is operating in a lawless fashion. They've already murdered at least 2 people, and there's 2 more on top of that I'm aware of besides Minneapolis. And they are not to be trusted. As a county, you can make a statement that simply you're not going to aid and abet any more than you have to, all right? This continued behavior by not allowing them to use county property for staging or anything else that we're looking at. To make such a statement for any town board, never mind the county commissioners, is a courageous statement because you know there'll be blowback. This is the time that we live in right now, okay? But it needs to be done. So I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.
So,
Any questions before I sit down?
well, generally, we can't engage in the dialogue.
Okay,
but what I would like to do is just make sure that we clarify the nature of your public comment. You're speaking on behalf of the item number 6C on our agenda, the executive order,
Yep.
resolution introduced by Commissioner
Absolutely.
Bergstrom.
Yes, indeed I am.
That's good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
We have comment.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Zoom and then I'm gonna come back here to in person. SL, can you bring SL up into the meeting? Robin.
Good morning to the board. Steve Leibowitz, 1 Independence Way in Brewster. I won't take up too much of your time as Mr. Bergeron spoke eloquently on the need to move forward on item 6 on your agenda. We've seen the state begin to take action, whether it's Executive Order 650, the passage of the Protect Act in the House, which is then moving to the Senate, and the courageous action of the town of Falmouth in order to protect town land from being used. The county has the opportunity to take a bold step to protect people's rights. And I think it's important for us to send the message out that unless everybody's rights in this country are protected, then nobody's rights are being protected. I urge you to move forward with that type of statement from the county and look forward to your discussion. Thanks very much.
That's great. Thank you, Dave. Yes, public comment.
Yes.
Take your time, no rush.
Okay.
She's wearing a boot,
Yeah,
so by all means.
that's the least of my trouble. I'm Thomas Ryan from Eastham, and I'm here to speak about agenda numbers 6B and 6C, both. I was very active in the Human Rights Commission in its first 10 years, including being coordinator within those first 10 years. And for 26 years that I've been living on the Cape, I've been active in every ecumenical and interfaith group around, and also active in immigration issues and with immigrant communities for the 26 years. On the Human Rights Advisory Commission agenda item, I always think it's important to take a broad view before even looking at the year's report and taking a broad view of their existence. I believe that they should receive strong support and lots of funding from the county because they help assure a good government, and in the long run, they save you time and money. And also immigration topics for the 20 years of the human rights group's existence. Immigration topics have always been fearful. Coordinators have always felt awkward or walking on thin ice to bring up these subjects. So we recognize that these are fearful topics, but important nevertheless. Which brings me to Agenda 6C, the proposed implementation of the Executive Orders 650 and 655. I firmly advocate the county implement this, especially sections 2 and 3. That's where it says that they're with stated exceptions, disallowing civil arrests by federal immigration officers, not just ICE. There's other kinds of federal immigration officers, but disallowing their civil arrests in certain areas of county facilities, and disallowing county facilities to be used for facilitation and staging of enforcement actions by whomever at the federal level. And I know that's what many people are here for, following you, is to keep ICE off county property. What I want to speak to for a minute is Section 4 of the Executive Order 650, and also where it was amended in 650, Executive Order 655, as you clearly stated in your resolution, Ron. And that's where it asks all related state departments, or in this case, county departments and staff, to assist the public entities and private entities that provide services to immigrants. So not just disallowing ICE on our county properties, but assisting child care providers, public and private schools, colleges, hospitals, places of worship, to assist them in thinking through how to cope with federal enforcement procedures. And it's a very important part of the governor's executive order 650, and it's the totality of the amendment in 655. So I want you to pay attention, please, to that as well. In these, as you all three of you know, and I've known all three of you for some time, all three of you know that these private and public entities are vital to the life of our county, of our country. And always, we all, you, I, all of us, learn a lot by being involved with them. So I encourage the county not just to have the state officials trying to work with hospitals and places of worship and all of this, but you too, the county should also be working with our local facilities, helping them prepare for any federal enforcement activities. And let me say finally that with sufficient funding, let me two final things. In the governor's supplements to the current budget bill going through the State House, there's explicit language that takes Executive Order 650, 655 and gives it a little more careful parsing. So I recommend when you're doing the final wording to look at the wording the governor's staff put into the budget bill that does it as well as, if not better than, 650 and 655 executive orders. My final one is, with sufficient funding and staffing, the Human Rights Advisory Commission is well equipped to assist you with all those public and private entities. So I advocate giving them all the support you can. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience? Yes, we have another.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear. A gentleman in the
All right.
community. Hi, good morning.
Name,
I'm
name.
Sandra Feynman Silva. I live at 50 Davis Road in Falmouth, and I am also a member of the Barnstable County Human Rights Advisory Commission as the Falmouth representative to that organization. I'm also chair of the Falmouth Immigrant Rights Coalition, which was formed about a year ago, more than a year ago, to address the immigration crisis and work on behalf of immigrants in our community and throughout the Upper Cape. And I strongly support what Tom, Ryan, and Wayne Bergeron have just testified to. And I just wanted to mention again the Falmouth initiative. We were very pleased in our work that we worked in concert with the Falmouth Select Board to hammer out an ordinance that is being implemented in our town. And we support at the county level as well any initiatives that can protect and assist immigrants in lawful activities, in resisting unlawful activities that have penetrated our communities. The Falmouth Immigrant Rights Coalition has developed a variety of committees to work on immigration assistance issues. For example, we have a business outreach activity where we have a packet of materials that we share with businesses to help them learn about their own rights, Fourth Amendment rights, and other rights as businesses, and how they should have standing protocols to ensure that their employees, as well as customers, clients, are safe and are protected if ICE knocks on their door. And we encourage them to have people trained with a protocol on what they should do. And the business is really any organization that has a public facing component. So faith communities, schools, social clubs, and offices are all subject to the public and the private spaces of the workplace. So we have paid some close attention to informing businesses. But I do encourage the commission to try to help us have other towns implement a similar resolution or similar protocols that we're doing in Falmouth. And we hope that there will be a landslide of support throughout the Cape to these kinds of protocols. And I thank you for your courageous work in putting forth your suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that you do.
Yes.
Thank you.
A lot of
Thanks
work.
a lot.
Much appreciated.
That's what retirement's all about.
Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak to this or any other
I do, but I'm gonna wait until we have this on our.
on the agenda? How about online, Robin? Do we have anybody else raising it? Okay. Then we can move on to the next item on our agenda, general business. And 6A, this is a request made to the commissioners to declare May 2026 as ALS Awareness Month. And I'm going to ask Commissioner Lyons if she would speak to the proclamation.
I will speak to the proclamation. We became aware of this, and as we know that ALS is a very awful diagnosis to receive and a real debilitating disease to have to endure. And like everything, as we can see they really focus on cancer, they can make a lot of progress. And we hope that the investments are made in the research here so that we can maybe make progress on this particular disease as well. So would you like me to read this citation?
Please.
Our official citation is let it be known that the Barnstable County Board of Regional Commissioners declares May 2026 as the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis awareness month, otherwise known as ALS. Whereas ALS, I'm going to put it that way so I don't screw it up, was also commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive, fatal neurodegenerative disease in which the person's brain loses connection with their muscles, slowly reducing a person's ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. And whereas thousands of new amyotrophic lateral sclerosis cases are reported every year, the estimates show that every 90 minutes, someone is diagnosed with ALS and someone passes away from ALS. And whereas on average, patients diagnosed with ALS survive only 2 to 5 years from the time of their diagnosis, and the exact cases of ALS are unknown, and there is no known cure for ALS. Whereas people who have served the military are more likely to develop ALS and die from the disease than those with no history of military service. And whereas securing access to new therapies, durable medical equipment, communication technologies is of vital importance to people living with ALS, whereas clinical trials play a pivotal role in evaluating new treatments, enhancing quality of life, and fostering assistive technologies for those living with ALS. And whereas the ALS Association is the largest philanthropic funder of ALS research globally and has committed more than $154 million to support more than 550 projects across the United States and 18 other countries. And whereas the ALS Association is committed to make ALS livable and cure it for everyone, everywhere. And where ALS Awareness Month provides an opportunity to increase the public's awareness of the dire circumstances of people living with ALS, knowing the terrible impact this disease has on those individuals, their families, and to support the research to eradicate this disease. Now, therefore, the Barnstable County Board of Regional Commissioners do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as ALS Awareness Month. I call upon Americans to join in supporting ALS research, advocating for increased funding, and standing in solidarity with those affected by this relentless disease. Given this 8th day of April, 2026.
Would you like to second that, Mr. Bertram?
I will second that.
Okay, so any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it carries unanimously. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item B, and that is the, yes.
Noble, our local resident who brought this forward to the commission.
Oh, we do. Okay, could you, the name of this constituent is who?
Thomas Noble.
Thomas.
Noble.
See if we can bring Thomas up. Thomas.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Noble, and I live at 34 Chipman Road in Sandwich. My mom died of ALS in May 2006, 9 months after her diagnosis. So it has been 10 years since her passing, and I want to thank you for passing that proclamation and for keeping the public spotlight on this disease, keeping it in the public's awareness, and hopefully keep us all working towards better outcomes for everyone else who has to go through this experience, and that someday we'll have a cure. So thank you very much for doing your part in doing that. Thank you.
Mr. Noble, I just want to give you our condolences on your mother, and I want to thank you for bringing the awareness forward and into asking us to do this. It's a very debilitating disease. I've had two friends, in their 60s, people I went to school with, also pass away from this disease, and it is really just a real debilitating experience. So thank you for bringing this forward. Everyone should be more aware of this disease and what we can do for it.
Thank you. Ron, did you?
Just to say that, yes, I've also in my life known people who have suffered this, and young people, in their 30s and 40s, and to know them before they got this disease and to see the debilitating effects of this over the course of time, really heart-rendering, especially since they remain, basically mentally sound during the time that their bodies deteriorate, and slowly they lose skills to communicate. So anything, we live in a new age of technology, and hopefully we can overcome this.
I agree.
Very good. Is there anybody else, Robin, that we need to online that we need to acknowledge? No, we're good. Okay, let's move on to the next item on the agenda then. 6B, the Human Rights Advisory Commission update and 2025 intake data review. And we have Leslie.
Yes.
Come on up.
And he's that's come on.
Yeah, that's me.
Is that Rick? So yesterday was International Women's Day, and I did not make that. And I regretted that I was unable to do that.
It was a good event, very
I
good.
bet it was a great event.
It
They
was a
always are.
really good event.
It was when I got to register this thing.
Oh, no.
So I should have just showed up, but.
Hey, Leslie, I'm going to ask you to introduce once again the panel and for
Absolutely.
the folks at home.
Thank you. So good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Leslie Dominguez Santos. I'm the Human Rights Coordinator for you guys. And with me, I actually have three members of our commission. Dr. Sandra Feynman Silva, she is our town liaison from Falmouth. Rick Draper. He is one of our appointed commissioners. He's from Brewster. And online, I see Dan Kupferman, who is one of our appointed commissioners from Mashpee. All three of them are members of our intake committee. And since I'll be walking you through our intake data, they're here to help make sure I cover everything that needs to be said. Before I get into the presentation, I just wanted to give you a few updates, taking advantage of our time here. Our chair this year is Leo Blanford, and our vice chair is Daniel Beltran. They're both fantastic. Our nominating committee just forwarded, and you all just approved 3 new members of our commission. We've had some turnover as people timed out and moved. But we have 3 new members joining us, which is really exciting. There are now only 2 towns that do not have liaisons to the commission, so we really are representing all of Barnstable County, and that's exciting.
Could I ask which towns?
Yes, Eastham and Harwich. Those are the 2 towns that we currently do not have liaisons from. As several of you know, as you were there, we had a great Human Rights Day celebration in December. We recently hosted our Human Rights Academy. We held it over at Sturgis 529 building and had students from across the Cape. We connected them with several of our local nonprofits because students had been saying they felt disconnected both from each other and from the community. So we brought in nonprofits to talk about ways that students can connect. And actually at the International Women's Day breakfast yesterday, one of the community agencies came up and said, "Oh my gosh, we had students from your academy come volunteer." It was serving breakfast to people who are unhoused, and a bunch of the students who had never done that before showed up. So that was pretty cool. And we're launching our tabling season. So this is when we're out and about in the community, letting everybody know who we are, what we do. And then 2 other things I just wanted to draw your attention to. One is as a commemorative activity of our 20th anniversary, we are working on an oral history project. And we've got several members of our commission who are interviewing members of the community who had been part of the commission in order to preserve that history. We're going to put together a short film and hopefully show it this coming December. And the other thing I just wanted to let you know that's coming up for us is our strategic plan is going to end at the end of this year. And so we are beginning a strategic planning process for the next 5 years. So that's my brief update. Now I want to share, if I can figure out technology, our intake data, because I think it's really important that you know what we are seeing out and about in the community. All right, great. Slideshow. All right, it's there. It's just not in present mode. Guidance. Sorry.
Michael can do it.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
He's a whiz at this.
Right. Good thing I'm not sitting beside it.
There we go. Okay, thank you.
Oh, now we can deliver engagement.
Oh, I don't want them to know.
No.
Oh, there's Michael right there.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Oh, but no, it
He used to
didn't.
be a whiz.
It went away.
Well, you know, I think there was, when that box came up, you weren't supposed to, there was a little link underneath that box.
Here comes
I could see it.
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry,
The real-
Technology and I are not friends.
is it this one here, the intake data?
Yes,
presentation?
that
Just
one.
do that.
So you learn something every day.
One
Silent.
second.
Yep. There we go.
So now
Okay.
you should be able to.
I just click forward.
Forwards back. Okay.
Okay.
Ah, there you go.
Awesome. Thank you all. So we track our intake phone calls by the calendar year because it's a whole lot easier to go out in the public and talk about what we've seen from year to year. So as you know, a big part of my job is to receive phone calls from the community and of people who are experiencing what they consider to be some kind of human rights violation. And so we've really made a point of trying to track the phone calls just so we can see what the trends are. Our numbers are too small for us to be able to definitively say, yes, this is an issue. But what we do is we use these numbers to kind of help with our education efforts and talk about what we're seeing and hearing in the community. Okay. So in 2025, we had 48 touch points. That's what I call them. That includes our intakes, which are in-depth. I'm talking to the person, I'm helping connect them to resources, trying to do warm handoffs to local nonprofits so that the person's getting all the support they need. Reports from our community, and then inquiries. You'll see that our numbers are slowly going up over time. I don't know that that is necessarily that more bad things are happening or that more people know to tell us about the bad things that are happening, but numbers are in fact increasing every year. The difference between intakes, reports, and inquiries is really that the intakes, as I said, it's in-depth, it's a warm handoff, it's connecting to resources. My intake committee helps me identify resources for people who call. But we've had a large increase in reports and inquiries that are coming from service providers. So one of the things we noticed this past year is that people are really scared. And they're scared even to call me, even though I'm not a super scary person. But they are asking other people to call me. And so we've done a lot of sort of go-between work this past year, and that's new. As you know, that what we work with are the protected classes that are still identified by our civil rights laws. And so Massachusetts has an expanded group of protected classes, and we feel fortunate that it is that way. So this shows you 3 years worth of data of the way how people identify when they call us. Now, when you look at this data, you have to know that people can identify as more than one thing. So if I was calling and I was saying I experienced something, I could say, I experienced this because I am female. I experienced this because I am Latina. So some of these numbers, it doesn't always add up to 48 because people can identify as more than one thing. The pullout data, what I'd really like to highlight for you guys is here. Race continues to be the largest reason why people call. It's about race, it's about race, it's about race. However, this data very much mirrors what we're seeing nationally. The increase in phone calls related to national origin very much are related to immigration status and ICE and the presence of ICE on Cape Cod. The LGBTQIA phone calls very much mirror what we're hearing nationally around support or lack of support for individuals who are trans. And so, again, our numbers are small, but they very much reflect that in Barnstable County, we're seeing the same things that we're hearing about nationally. So again, back to our civil rights laws, these are the areas that people are protected from discrimination. So this is how we track our phone calls as well. So when we look at service areas, this is, again, what we're hearing across the board. And then the pullout for here, these are the two that I most want to focus on. Schools continue to really be an issue. I would like to think that the decrease in numbers is because the Human Rights Commission has been very actively working with schools to try to come up with anti-bullying approaches, but schools still continue to be an issue. And the public space numbers, again, very much reflect what we're hearing nationwide, that more and more people feel like they can go anywhere they want and say whatever they want. And so the increase in numbers in public spaces really is people saying things on the street. You're walking down the street and you just feel like you can say or do whatever you want. And so I always want to bring this to your attention because we'd like to say, oh, in Massachusetts, it doesn't happen here, or oh, on Cape Cod, it doesn't happen here. But what our small numbers show is it really does happen here. All the same things that you hear about in the newspaper, they are happening here. Again, I think I touched on these already, but notable trends, more service providers calling as in between, the increase in phone calls related to immigration status, the public spaces and schools still really being a concern. We make referrals out to local agencies, state agencies, and federal agencies, really depending on the severity and what people are looking for. And then in terms of our referral outcomes, we have a really good track record. And so there really are people who have findings made in their cases. We have schools that change policies. We have landlords that start doing the right thing. And so, again, it's a small impact, but it's a real impact for the people that we are connected with. And that is it for the slides. But I want to turn it over to Sandy and Rick and Dan online just to see if there's anything you would like to add.
No, I don't really have too much to add, except for I would like to say that Leslie does the work of about 3 people. She's an amazing addition to this commission, and I'd also like to thank you all for your continued support of the Barnstable County Human Rights Commission.
That may be you, Leslie.
Yeah.
You may still be on.
Dan is.
Yeah.
I'm here, but you're good.
Yeah. You have the floor.
No, I just heard my name, so I decided might as well let you see me, but I don't have anything to add. I think Leslie covered it. And I just add thank you to all the work that the commissioners do. I'm happy to be part of the commission.
And we're happy to have you. Thank you for serving.
Thanks, Dan.
And I'll just say that, yes, I think the compilation of data is excellent, and you can really see what the issues are that are of deep concern, particularly schools and public spaces. But also the sort of mixing with the immigration crisis. I think we have to continue to be very vigilant and somehow find ways to connect with our schools, and not only the youth, but the faculty, staff, everybody who's connected to the school communities, and continue to work on racism, which seems to be the bedrock crisis issue.
Commissioner Bergstrom.
Yeah, those of us who have this vestigial memory of, the 60s and the civil rights movement and Stonewall and the end of officially sanctioned discrimination. I don't say we take pride in it. We like to think that in our lifetime we've made a lot of progress, and toward ending, racism, racial discrimination. So to see what's happening now, and I know there's a legitimate issue around people who have come here undocumented, but so much of the rhetoric is based on who these people are. If there was 10,000 Norwegians coming over the border, I don't think there would be half the concern that there is now, because the people coming over are different than us. I mean, they're racially different than us. They have a different look to them. They're darker. And so I think we have to separate those two issues, because unfortunately, the victories that we've had or the success we've had in the past doesn't always translate along the line. We have to be vigilant, and your existence on that committee is part of that vigilance to make sure we don't slide back, into where we were several decades ago. So I appreciate everything you guys do, and hopefully we'll take a deep breath and maybe we'll get by this. Okay, thanks to your help.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Lyons.
So I would imagine that some of your, referrals that are coming from service providers or from healthcare service providers. I was, a healthcare navigator at Outer Cape Health, and I was there during the first administration of the Trump administration. And that's when, he opened it up by going to airports and getting people, and it was a real crisis then, but we had people in place still. He hadn't done that work in between those 4 years. And at that point, I did get onto a phone call that was once a week with lawyers from all over the country trying to give me guidance, because when people come here, they are generally, especially when they come on a work visa, they're here. And if that gets extended, they can stay. And what people don't realize is that every time that's extended, that's like $10,000 that they have to pay. This isn't like a free ride. They have to pay for that visa. They have to pay for that renewal. They have to pay to be able to go home and come back. And it is a family adventure. There is an investment from the family. So a lot of them feel obligated that they have to send the money home. So they're faced with all of these, and they will work 20 hours a day. 20 hours a day. And it looks like they're making money, but between the cost that they have to pay for their rent, which they do have to pay, might be a little reduced if it's from an employer, but it's being shared with many others. And if that expires, I would guide them to make sure you pay your taxes, even if you're illegal or not. They could never collect on their taxes, but they paid them. They did everything they could to get that status, play by the rules. It was one out of maybe 1,000, and I am telling you, I helped 1,000 people a year on my own statistics. I had one case that was a criminal that turned out that he did a crime, but the entire family did not. And the whole population that I served, and I've served mainly Jamaicans, Haitians, and then there was Bulgarians, Russians, and Provincetown is a port town. The whole world lands there. And it's just really incredible the attitude people have in just helping someone out if they're sick. And this state, and I think even the country, there are these very low level, like health safety net, these types of things that allow people to get medications, to be seen if they're having high blood pressure. People resent that. People resent that. And actually, it's there to save us money, because it's somebody's being paid, or else we're paying a lot more. We're paying full rate on a service, and they're inflated rates. So it's really stunning to me how quickly we can go to hating the other. And we have to have a human rights commission. We have to stand up for these people. They are part of our community. They are what makes our community better. And some of our white residents could take lessons from them. And I hate to say that, I'm not being down on our own people who live here in this community, but I had more issues come from the residents who were born here as opposed to those that were trying to become citizens here. So they know that they're here. They're grateful to come. They want to play by the rules. They would never do anything illegal. Even if I said we could do this, no, I don't want it. I don't want anything coming down on me that I took anything during this period. Mm-hmm. So that was the attitude I had from, I would say, 98% of the people I assisted. And it very much upsets me when I hear people talk about immigrants and they're here taking things from us. There was a woman on a call in, and I'll just leave it at that. She said, I was in a waiting line. I had to go to an emergency room and I couldn't get diagnosed because this other woman was ahead of me. Now, that other woman was probably there a day, you know, because she probably didn't have that insurance, but they did finally see her. But this woman just looked at her, and her bad experience was because this woman was taken before her. And I just found it stunning. Otherwise, she was a very good Christian. So we really have to look at our hypocrisy in this country and what we're really saying out loud. And it's not that it didn't always exist. We've had the Virgin Society, we've had all of this for years. But we as a people outnumbered that. And that is what I'm afraid of, that we're not outnumbering it. And it's our job to do so. So thank you for all the work you do. And I just want to take this opportunity just to say, it's not what you think it is to those who want to hold those opinions.
Thank you. Mr. Bergstrom, anything else you want to add?
No, just that, you know, I just once again appreciate the work you guys do.
Yeah,
and hopefully those numbers won't go up too much. You know,
right.
I'm sure you're ready to deal with whatever comes your way, but hopefully not too much of it'll come.
Yeah.
Well, I just also want to say that those don't really reflect everything that's going on, because there were times people like I sat in that and I was able to navigate it before I had to go to you.
Yeah.
And or I was going to different sources like these lawyers trying to guide me through a legal situation on how I could keep them safe and keep them healthy. And so there's a lot more than what we see there. It's really when they have it's, I'm sure,
Yes.
where else can we turn? That's where you get that.
Just wanted I had to say this because it's something that sticks in my mind. You know, it's controversy about illegal the people who are here undocumented voting. You know, supposedly
Oh,
there's
that's
thousands
also
of them.
cannot happen.
In my experience, and also in your experience, people who are here undocumented, very careful not to interact in any way with the government. Why would they voluntarily expose themselves as being identified? And you said yourself that they now have others call for them for that very reason. So, I mean, we do have to have these people. A lot of people are here without proper documentation, and they should come in out of the cold. But what's happening now is not the way to do that. You know?
Right.
It's only to drive people more and more into the darkness. You know?
And also, you know, immigration is 15% of our GDP. You know, they really contribute to the wealth of this country, and we can see that wealth going down right now. So it's for everything you want to say, we're all living a good life because they're here. That's
Very
it.
good.
I'll say no more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all the work that you do. We know that you're incredibly busy these days, and we appreciate all your service.
Yeah.
So thank you. And Dan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
It's great to have you all here.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is item C, the executive order applicability review, the review and determine the applicability of executive order 650 regarding ICE activities to Barnstable County properties, including the courthouse in Orleans, and consider issuing a similar order if needed, as introduced for discussion by Commissioner Bergstrom last month on March 11th. So, Commissioner Bergstrom, I'm going to turn this portion of our meeting over to you to talk about your proposal.
Yeah. Early in March, I think the first week of March, I attended a couple of meetings of people who were advocates, you know, very for immigration and other issues. And the conversation among the people there was very animated. And they asked themselves the question, we see what's going on with ICE. So what can we do about it? What can we do as individuals? And, you know, we write postcards and we can go around the country and see who the advocates are for some kind of fairness and reasonableness. And I came out of that meeting and I asked myself the question, I said, well, what can I do? Not just as an individual, but what can I do as a public official? You know, and by extension, what can we do as commissioners? What authority do we have to act? And of course, right away, I said to myself, I realized and became aware of the executive order 650 by the governor. And I said, well, you know, This campus is under control of the executive branch from the administrator, from us. And I said, we have to, and everything that goes on here, in a sense, goes on with our approval, you know. And there are people who are going to the registry. There are people coming as witnesses in the trials. There are people advocating, coming to various functions right here on the campus. And I said, we have to see if we are covered by the governor's order 650 now. Commonwealth, the county, Barnstable County established in 1685. We were here before before Massachusetts, okay? But let's be honest, we're part of Massachusetts. You know, they're the big kahuna, we're the little kahuna, all right? So they put out this executive order barring ICE from all state property and courthouses and stuff. So the question arose, is this cover us? And if it doesn't, what can we do about it? So I asked the chair to put this on a further agenda. And then we also empowered the administrator to look into the legal ramifications, to talk to counsel, to understand what our rights are, because it's a little more complicated than just saying, okay, no ICE. I mean, another issue, of course, we have is that there's oftentimes a reaction to this around the country, you know. Internet trolls will find out that somebody has opposed administration policy and they can try to retaliate. You know? So I thought to myself, well, if we are covered by the governor's order, we have a team behind us. You know, it's not just the three of us standing here up against ICE. It's the Governor Healy and her people, and they're pretty tough. So that's where we are. I'm not going to go into the things that everybody else said about the unfairness of the current process, you know, so many times, but I'll go a little beyond it, just the issue of whether a person is here undocumented or not. So many times we'll have someone come up to the microphone in any kind of an issue and they'll say, I've been here for 50 years. Or they'll say, my ancestors came over here back in 1620. And after a while, listen to this, I thought to myself, well, that's fine. But you know, if you are an immigrant, you take the pledge as an American citizen, that day, you're just entitled to the same rights as everybody else, regardless of your background, regardless of how long you've been here. We have an equal protection clause in the Constitution, which gives every citizen the same rights as every other citizen. And right now, beyond the issue of undocumented, certain populations are being targeted as being less American than the rest of us. I think one of the commentators said the same thing. So we have to, at the same time as we're dealing with the initial impact of ICE being on, haunting the courthouses and the public property, we also have to deal with the issue of the fact that there's no standard American. We're all citizens. We all have the same rights, and we can't. Somebody comes here and becomes an American citizen, we're not being invaded. My ancestors didn't invade us. You know? Your ancestors didn't invade us. They just came here like everybody else. So it's a big issue. I know here today we are dealing with the specific issue of the campus and our rights to prevent ICE from intimidating people on this property. And so that's where we are now. The chair, we skipped the meeting because we were in Eastham, but now it's in front of us. And I'm hoping I get support from my fellow commissioners.
Commissioner Lyon.
You know, I think it's time that we do this. I do know that in talking to a couple of administrators of other towns, they would appreciate this because it kind of helps them come forward. There is sort of a blanket cover as Ron feels that we have sort of a protection from the state. The towns can feel a protection and a stand taken by the county. And not everyone's going to love this. We're going to be snowflakes and woke and, just helping those people. But that's okay. That's part of what you sign up for when you're sitting here. And we do have to make those hard and honest decisions. It really is about who are we? Are we going to be a bunch of thugs and bullies? And we're better than everybody else. I mean, we're really not looking very better than anybody in the world today, especially today. And so I totally support your resolution, and I'm ready to take a vote. Yes.
Okay,
Just to say,
Commissioner Bergstrom.
in no way am I suggesting that ICE doesn't, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement doesn't have a legitimate purpose in our society and has fulfilled that legitimate purpose for many years. But what we're seeing goes way beyond that. So I think that we, as a county and also as a state, have to take a stand. So this is proposed resolution, which is the implementation of Massachusetts Executive Order number 650.
So is this your motion, Commissioner?
This is my motion, yes, to move that this resolution as it relates to Barnstable County owned and leased properties. Whereas on January 29, 2026, Massachusetts State Governor Maura Healey issued Executive Order number 650, protecting access to essential services and keeping Massachusetts communities safe, amended by Executive Order number 655 on March 18, 2026. And whereas as county commissioners responsible for the management and care of county property under Section 3-3B of the county charter, it is hereby ordered by the Barnstable County Commissioners that the county administrator take all steps necessarily to implement Governor Maura Healey's Executive Order 650, amended by Executive Order number 655, and to instruct county personnel to take all necessary steps to comply with and implement the provisions of Executive Order 650, amended by Executive Order number 655 as attached. And so we have that order attached. And,
I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion by the board? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It carries unanimously. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your support on this and for everything you do.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is are we gonna table the proposed changes dealing with the Marine Flare program?
I would appreciate that. The presenters are under the weather.
Got it.
Okay.
So thank you for
So we're
that.
gonna go to item number E. Jacob, are you here?
Here.
All right, we're gonna get an update from Children's Cove on their rebranding initiative. And I encourage folks to stick around for this exciting
Yes. All the work
update
that
from
Jacob does.
Children's Cove.
All right, let's see if I can make the technology work this time.
It's okay.
Mike just
Administrators
learned.
learned a lot in the last presentation.
We'll
Don't
figure
let me
it out.
help.
I know, I should sit here beside you and I can find out how to do it too.
Absolutely, no worries.
Here we go. So
All
for
right.
the record, you're gonna,
Yeah, so for the record, my name is Jacob Stapleton. I am the Community Engagement and Education Program Manager at Children's Cove. And we are the Child Advocacy Center, which serves the Cape and Islands. And so I wanted to talk today to announce an initiative we've actually been working on for quite some time. Next year, we will be entering our 30th year as a Department of Barnstable County, serving children and families of our community, and those who in particular have been victims of crime. For those that aren't aware of Children's Cove, we provide the coordinated response for cases involving child sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, witness to domestic violence, as well as commercial sexual exploitation and human trafficking within the region. I've actually am going to be coming up on my 10-year anniversary working at Children's Cove, working in the community. And across that time, we have, and I personally have engaged with hundreds of children, families, community members. My role is really to raise awareness of the work that we do as a child advocacy center. And for many years, I've often heard this similar response. Oh my goodness, the work you do it's so hard. It's so sad. It's so difficult. And yes, when we're here talking about this work, child sexual abuse is not a topic that really jumps out from the headlines as something people want to discuss. And it's hard for individuals to imagine children and families in that process, in that time. And that's what we're there for. And for nearly 30 years, we've been providing that hope and healing and support as they've been moving through it. However, when we engage with the children and the families who we have seen over those 30 years, many of them have talked about how supported they felt, how comfortable they felt, how engaged our teams were, how much of a difference it made in their lives. And a lot of the work that we do now when we're engaging the community is talking about hope, healthy outcomes, positive experiences, and those that they have had at Children's Cove. And so as we're preparing for that 30 years of service, we've rebranded for a number of reasons, but really to bring forward that notion of brighter tomorrows, that commitment to our communities for brighter tomorrows. And so we wanted to talk about this, which is going to be rolling out a little bit later this month, which April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, as well as National Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So it's an appropriate time for us to talk about this. Our new logo is really bringing forward that new identity. It's visually engaging the organization's goals and commitments, that sunrise of a brighter tomorrow.
Right, it does look more hopeful.
Yeah, that commitment to a brighter tomorrow for the children, for the families, and for the community at large. We work with every town within our region. We work with members of law enforcement and child protection, hundreds of community-based organizations and nonprofits to really provide that support for our community. And anchoring that brand in hope is something that we really wanted to do. We also wanted to ensure that as we move forward, our colors, our mission aligned more with Barnstable County's government's logos and colors. We wanted to make sure that there's that clear connection between Barnstable County and us being a department of that. And so all of our brand colors directly correlate. So we're bringing the focus on the blues, the core there. The rays and the sunrise are also tied into the yellows and the golds. And so we have kind of a mix of those colors to bring it all together. So a more cohesive, clean, and bold imagery. And that's going to continue throughout our entire brand identity with all of our corporate material, our brochures, our rack cards, social, everything that we're going to be doing is bringing that forward and focusing on the optimistic spirit of the work that we do. We really are a collective service for our entire community, bringing that brighter tomorrow for everyone. And we're really excited to show you all when we completely full can do the rollout.
It looks great. So it's been 30 years. So do you know how Children's Cove started?
One more year.
Oh, okay, come on.
Next year. We're almost there.
All right. These interviews used to happen out in the hall. And Mary LeClaire and Rob O'Leary, and Mary LeClaire would say to Rob, you see what's happening here? We've got to do something about this. And that was the beginning of them figuring out to partner with the DA and start this. So we'll give them a tip of our hat while we're here. But it's I think it's really, because it is a heavy, I mean, I congratulate you for hanging in there 10 years, because it's heavy work. It's heavy. I'm a social worker myself. It's hard work. And so thank you for doing that. And I just think these look great. I think all of the thought that's in there is sort of showing itself. So very good.
Commissioner Bergstrom.
Yeah, you're partially funded by the state. Is it, or the federal government?
So I am not the expert on our full budget, but we do receive the majority of our funding from Barnstable County government, but we also receive state and federal funding, both through the Massachusetts Children's Alliance funneled through there. And then there is federal grant funding as well.
Yeah, the only reason I bring that up is not the dollar amount's not important, but the president recently suggested in the midst of a war in which we're spending trillions of dollars that we can no longer afford to fund things like Medicare and so on. And there's always the threat, as there is to many of our programs here in Barnstable County, that the funding would be pulled. But I know that I personally, I think I speak for my commissioners, we're committed to this program. We're going to make it work however it's necessary. So.
Excellent.
I think that's true.
Thank you.
Right. No, I would agree with my fellow commissioners. You do great work, and the branding is well done.
Very well done.
It's very well done. So kudos to you. Kudos to the rest of your team. Kudos to Stacy. We appreciate all your hard work. We really do.
Yeah, we look forward to a 30th celebration. We'll have to be planning that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we wanted to get a little bit ahead on here so that everything else we're going to do is we're going to have some great stuff. our
That's great.
community. So,
Is there anything else that we need to be brought up on?
you know me, I can go on for
Okay.
hours, but I think we've had a great day, and we're really excited to bring this forward, and looking forward to
That's
providing
great.
more updates in the future.
Well, you've got our
That's great.
blessing. So
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Jacob, and good to see you.
You as well.
Okay. The next item on the agenda, I'm going to ask our administrator to brief us on proposed ordinance 26 to be named budget transfer for the completion of the public safety training
In the paper about this.
live fire project. And
Thank you.
we're going to take a moment to let our guests leave. Thank you for joining us, folks.
See you, Wayne.
And for this item, I'm going to abstain from any discussion or to vote on this particular item.
Yes, since it lives in your town. Did I see something in the paper about this the other day?
You
Sorry,
may
I had a
have.
line about something on fire in Yarmouth. I said, it
no.
must be about our building. I just think of it.
No, it was
Too
not.
many newspapers, too many documents.
Well, thank you. I bring you this, and I'll give you a little bit of background, obviously for your benefit, for the public's benefit. The Barnstable County, we call it a burn building. I know I'm not supposed to call it the burn building, fire training facility, is something that was originated as far back as 2017, I believe. We received a FEMA grant, which at the time probably would have built the whole thing and funded the whole thing. Over time, we had to get several extensions of the FEMA funding, and we have also secured smaller amounts of alternative funding. But the bottom line is that we are now just about at the very end of this project, and we're very anxious to turn this over to the town of Yarmouth so that they can develop the regional plan for all Cape's fire departments to be able to train at this facility. So the reason for this transfer request is that based on numbers that we received last year, we thought we would be able to finish it this year with a $100,000 earmark from the state legislature. Turns out that the costs have escalated. So we also now know that if we wait until next fiscal year to finish this, it's going to cost about another $50,000 plus. And I think, the more we wait, the more the finish line seems to creep forward. And we're not doing the Cape's firefighters any service by not letting them use this facility for the training that they need. So my proposal would be to transfer funds that we have within this year's current budget that we know we're not going to use, and transfer that to just finish this building and get on with transferring it over to the town of Yarmouth. So we did some estimates. The final estimates to finish this building run about $250,000. We have a $100,000 earmark that Senator Sear was able to secure for us this fiscal year. And so in a very conservative world, we need $155,000 to complete the whole thing. I say in a very conservative world because we know that the fire chiefs, the Cape's fire chiefs have been able to raise some funding that will offset some of this. But to be on the safe side, I want to make sure that we transfer enough just to make sure that the line item is there to just finish the project and be able to move on. So that's the genesis behind this ordinance, but I'm happy to answer questions.
No, I think it's well timed. This has been sort of like a horse we've been dragging around and it won't drink anywhere. And so I think it's time. So with that, I am going to move that to introduce proposed ordinance 26 to be named, but budget fund transfer for the completion of the public safety training live fire project.
Second.
I'm going to call for a vote. So I'll call for the vote, I guess, and I say aye.
Bergstrom votes aye.
And I abstain.
All
Forrest
right.
abstains.
Okay.
Thank you. New business. Do we have any new business to come before the commissioners?
Yeah.
Hearing none, I'm going to go to the next item, number 8, commissioners' consent agenda. I have a motion.
I move to approve Commissioners' consent agenda items 8A through 8Q as listed on the April 8th, 2026 meeting agenda.
I second.
Is there any discussion? Are there any items here that any board members would like to highlight or acknowledge? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Approval of the meeting minutes. Do I have a motion for the March 25th?
I move to approve the March 25th, 2026 regular meeting minutes as drafted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, any corrections, any adjustments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Item number 10, Commissioner reports. I'm going to start with Commissioner Bergstrom. Any reports, Commissioner?
No, I don't have anything right now, so.
Okay. Commissioner Lyons.
I will just bring to people's attention that I did have we have a Wellfleet forum in the town of Wellfleet, and we also, the Outer Cape services actually started in the town of Wellfleet years ago because there was no healthcare out there, and in Provincetown and then Harwich. So there is a move now to telemedicine, and it was a very interesting conversation with the CEO of Outer Cape Health. And if anybody's interested in looking at that, they could access it through the Wellfleet Community Forum page, probably in a few days. But right now it sits on the Wellfleet Town under Wellfleet Media. You just scroll through and you'll come to the community videos. And it sounds really scary, and it sounds like it's not going to work, but it does seem like it does. And Dr. Archer, who is the CEO, really went through the whole thing. But it also was fascinating to hear how clinics are funded, hospitals are funded, and how screwed up our healthcare system is. And we are ruled by pharmacy and insurance companies. And until we get a hold of that, it won't get any better. However, that's my sidebar. I just wanted to say it was a really interesting conversation, and for people who are going to be experiencing this probably through hospitals and their clinics, it's the brave new world we're entering. So I think we have to kind of give it a go, but it looks like this is where we're at now. There's not enough doctors to go around.
The only report that I have is earlier this week, we had a forum. We hosted a forum with Mass DOT to get an update from Louisa Pawanski on the status of the replacement bridges for the Cape Cod Canal.
And I'm sorry I did not.
And
make that another engagement.
well, we've got a good recording and the press release. So I put together a very good release on summarizing what the updates are. And so kudos to Robin for helping organize it and put it together, as well as our friends over at the Cape Cod Commission. Christy, Steve Tupper, and David Still, and Sarah Colburn. Everybody stepped up and helped us get this off the ground. We did it. This is the first time we've done a forum like this with Mass DOT, utilizing the Mary Pat Flynn conference room and inviting a state official to come and interact with officials from throughout the region. And there's interest in doing another one, maybe open to the public. And see if we get a broader audience, maybe sometime in the summer months, where we could invite year-round residents, summer residents to join us in a forum on the status of the bridges, what's going on. And yeah, the time to do it would be at night, like at 6 or 7 p.m. We'll call it a Cape and Islands Town Hall. And Louisa Pawanski loved the idea, so she's ready to participate with us. So I look to hopefully getting the same help from our staff here, our clerk, and our friends over at the Cape Cod Commission, so that we can provide an update to a much larger audience.
I have a suggestion. If we do that, I would send that invitation out to they're called different things in different towns: non-resident taxpayer association, summer resident association, whatever it may be. Because we have a very active one, and they do have meetings in Wellfleet. Like we have our state of the town for them and that sort of thing, and it's hugely attended. So if there was a stream and they could project that on, they would have a meeting, and all of them would be there to listen to this. If they weren't in the building, they would be listening to that, and respective towns. So I think if you really want to hit all of those people, especially in the summer,
Right.
not everyone can get here in summer traffic. It's only going to get worse with our building, our building boom.
Right.
So it would be a really good thing because I think a lot of people are interested in that, what's going to happen and when is it going to happen and that sort of thing.
2033.
2033 is when it
2030, so if
starts.
you're revving up your engines
I might
right
not
now
be here. I
to
might be
drive over that bridge, you may have to wait a little bit. But also, that being said, as Mark will say, all systems are go. It's cruising
Oh, I
along.
know.
We're meeting the deadlines.
Right, good.
Okay, that's my report. Upcoming business. Let's go to the administrator for a quick review of the agenda for our next meeting.
So right now for our next meeting, which will be in Wellfleet.
Beautiful town of Wellfleet.
Do we have a venue yet?
Yes, it's
We do.
it's going to be at the Adult Community Center / COA, 715 Old Kings Highway.
Thank
I
you.
got that confirmed yesterday. I did ask
Good.
him. I said, I think they have classes. He goes, we booted them out.
Oh dear.
I know,
They
nobody's
can
gonna
come
do
and
this.
join us. We can do exercise.
Chair yoga. We could all do a little bit of
Do
chair yoga
in
while
our
we're there.
meeting. Work that in.
Our wellness program.
Yes.
So how does that agenda shaping up?
It's shaping up well. We will hear from APCC on water supply protection matters. We will hear from Brian Baumgartel, our Clean Water Center Director on IA systems and tracking of IA systems. And we have a minor piece of business to do on a bond anticipation note sale with the finance director, but that shouldn't be too bad. So that
The date of that meeting is what again?
the date of that meeting is April 22nd, and again in Wellfleet, 10 a.m.
And that's Earth Day. So we have a very earthy
Yes.
like agenda.
I know. So is Andy Gottlieb gonna be
Yep.
Yes.
attending? Okay.
I think the in our discussions, I think we're interested in knowing more about their campaign to promote more land conservation and water supply, water resources protection.
Oh,
So-
you will have a crowd.
Okay, well, that's good. Isn't that what we want?
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah, there is a development that's probably, we're actually putting it, this state select board, only one voted against it. I want to say who. To go ahead with this 250 unit. And now that people are seeing, we just completed a 45 unit, and I'll be happy to show you that. We'll drive by that on the way back, but,
Okay.
Now people are realizing, we do want this, and we want some housing, but we don't want what's gone on there,
Scale.
and we don't want this scale. So there is this debate, and so it's actually on town meeting to get the temperature of the town now. How do we go forward?
Oh, that's.
Yeah, and we're letting, there's been such an outcry, and we've gotten letters that actually have more signatures on it than you would get at attendance at a town meeting. So I think we do have to pay attention to what the people are saying. And I'm glad that we are. So there will be people there that are going to be more than interested in Andy's talk and Brian's as well, because we are also facing our sewering and how we're going to go about. We're going to be that hybrid town of some sewering and probably more septic, and everybody's freaked out about that because of the cost. And
Sounds good.
so it'll be interesting.
Good.
I did ask, was there anything we could do on procurement? Only because we are always, our assistant administrator is always, and I said, have you ever tried the county just to see if they could assist you on this? And it would be nice to let them know what we can assist with, what big things and what small things.
So short answer is yes, not something that's ready for a commissioners meeting, but I have reached out and continue to work with the Cape Towns just to assess what kind of procurement help they need. It seems to be a hot item. That and also seasonal inspection services.
Right.
Because now there's a requirement that you inspect.
Short-term rentals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's putting a lot of towns under a lot of pressure that don't have robust building departments. So we're looking at that as well.
Okay.
So we look forward to having everyone.
So what do you think, Commissioner Bergstrom? A good agenda for Wellfleet?
Oh, I think so. I'm looking forward to meet the movers and shakers up in Wellfleet. They've always been very vocal about policy, got things going on up there, so
Mhm.
it should be an interesting meeting.
It should be.
Okay, let's move on to county administrator and staff report.
I have a few items, all good for the most part. Just want to let the board know that bid documents for the work on this building, the Superior Court building, were released on March 25th. We've had a pre-bid meeting that showed very good interest in the project, which is always a good gauge in this case of how many bids you'll actually receive. Excuse me, and bids are due April 23rd, so that is coming up, and we're excited about that. We have a tentatively scheduled meeting with the Barnstable Village Association on April 21st, which is an opportunity to really dig into the more details about this project, the timelines, how, what kind of details there are, and also the levels of interruption that will occur during the course of the project. So that is coming up. Budget process is moving along. So far, the Finance Committee, the Assembly's Finance Committee, has recommended several, including the Cape Cod Commission budget, the Dredge program budget, the facilities, Registry of Deeds, Public Safety, and Finance have all been recommended positively. The committee wanted more information on Children's Cove, as well as some more information on fringe benefits and debt and so forth. So that's where they stand now. Obviously, we've got more budgets to review this coming Thursday and then likely the following Monday. I will tell you that Paul Rosala and GZA, are engineers on the former municipal fire training site, are presenting the county's work at the Northeast Waste Management Officials Association Conference in Worcester later this month. So that's an acknowledgement of the importance that that work has taken on, and the good stuff that we've done, cutting edge stuff in some cases that we've been able to do. We also held an after action session with about 15 to 20 of county staff directly involved in the blizzard response. It was a good, productive session, and really lays the groundwork for future planning with both us, the county, within the county, and also the county's Regional Emergency Planning Committee. So good results coming out of that.
Can we just for a moment just stay right there, because I think we're going to want to have an update in terms of that work. But I also want to introduce the conversation about how we restructure. I'm a longstanding believer that department has to be pulled out of the health department, needs to stand alone and report directly to the administrator. I felt that from day one, and because of some of the recent developments, I'm even more convinced of it, because I felt it was a problem in the past. And I think this is something that we really need to address, and I'd like to see us address it as a group soon. And I think to some degree there may be some members of the assembly that may have an interest in how we restructure this and how we do this, because there's some delegates that have a real strong public safety background that can probably contribute something productive to this whole exercise. So I'm anxious to get a report, but also talk about in terms of where we go from here. Restructuring has to, in my opinion, has to be a part of the conversation.
Agreed. We actually will likely come to you with a probably a comprehensive restructuring within the next month to 2 months. I would sort of guesstimate at this point, and certainly on the public the emergency planning piece, absolutely include those that are interested and those that have specific expertise in the field. So
that would be good. I should also point out, the administrator and I have had some discussions with people at Mass Maritime Academy. They have an emergency management program, and they're interested in partnering with us to provide some resources and support so we can make a really strong program. They've got great resources, great talent over there. In my travels to various towns, I participated. I didn't participate. I was giving a talk to the Orleans Select Board several months ago. And at the same meeting that I was presenting, the Mass Maritime cadets they had interns working in the town of Orleans on a emergency management plan for the town of Orleans.
Mm.
So this is, in my discussions, my limited contribution to this effort, I believe that as a county, we should be playing a more active role in working with our towns and helping them update their plans, much the way we help with updating and developing other plans.
Right.
But we need to be sufficiently resourced and have the right people, in a position to do that kind of work. And so hopefully, we'll be able to restructure this and hit a reset button so that we can do a lot more in the years and months ahead. So.
And if I can add, part of that emergency planning is also fire. And so there's a group in Truro that I've been dealing with, Mr. Marksbury, and he has had communication with Mike McGuire at the Cooperative Extension, who has secured a grant to do a regional plan. So this is another type of a regional emergency response, but it is really something that we do have to look at. And so we have to remember that that is a component of that planning.
For your information, we've been talking to Mike about us getting an update at one of our meetings on this whole wildfire planning effort. And there's been some delay at the federal level in terms of getting the funding lined up. I think Mike McGuire, and I think his instincts on this are right. Let's get the money locked down, get a grant agreement set. Let's get the scope of work pretty much hashed out first. And then once we get something to roll out, that would be a good time for us to be having that conversation. So I just want you to know that it comes up in my discussions with staff about setting an agenda. That's clearly a priority. It's on our list, but it's not quite ready for prime time yet.
And the National Seashore, as far as the fire is concerned, is also a partner in that whole conversation.
Well, you've got the seashore on the one end and you've got the National Guard on the other end.
Exactly.
There's some very, very capable organizations that I think can work well or better with
And
us.
DCR, and they're all really great. So.
No question. Any other staff updates or
That is all I have right now.
Okay. Is there any other business to come before the Board of County Commissioners?
No.
Hearing none, it is a little after 11:30.
Yeah.
I move to adjourn.
And I will second that.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it carries unanimously. We are adjourned.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.